Hello, everybody, and welcome to All Blaze No Glory, the podcast. Something slightly different this week again, as I talk to Lynsey McEwen and Gavin Hogarth from Scottish Obstacle Course Racing, and they tell me all about the different aspects of that, including competitive side of it and the sort of more recreational side of it. And it was just great to talk to them, two very fun people, and I may have got roped into something. Before I get to that, I just want to confirm I did do my cold water dip. I hope you saw on the socials some of the photos. Or if you're of a weak stomach, I hope you didn't see the photos that were there of me flopping around on the beach, I guess. But that was truly excellent. I thank everyone at Edinburgh Blue Balls for being so welcoming. I am going back again. I'm not going to make another date for it because I know something I'm just going to enjoy. So thanks so much to them. But anyway, let's get to what this pod's about. Scottish Obstacle Course Racing. So I'd like to welcome Lynsey McEwen and Gavin Hogarth from Scottish Obstacle Course. Is it running? I'm not sure. Organisation to the podcast. Now you can correct me because I'm sure I just butchered the actual name of the organisation. So did I get that right, Gavin?
Almost. Obstacle Course Racing is what the R stands for, racing.
Stands for racing. Fair enough.
Close enough.
Okay, so how did you get involved with this, Lynsey? What made you interested in obstacle course racing?
So my journey probably started in about I think I did my first Tough Mudder in 2015. And I did that by myself. This was before I met Gavin and the team, and I think I finished that race with about 30 people. And that to me kind of cemented what obstacle course racing is all about. It's about kind of community spirit and helping each other out and getting each other over the finish line. And then I moved house, so I lived in Paisley for a while, and I moved back down to my hometown in Kilmarnock, and found Gavin kind of just before we all started the kind of obstacle course racing stuff, so kind of more in the Fit Body Farm stuff, and then grew from there. So Gavin started doing the OCR stuff more seriously, and we just kind of went from there. So we've done events up and down the country, and I've been plagued with injuries probably for the last like 4 or 5 years, so I haven't given it justice or done it properly for a while. But yeah, so I started probably back in 2015, and I've done it ever since. And it's definitely the kind of team spirit and the community and the kind of helping each other out that's kept me interested in OCR. And it's probably the most fun you can have as an adult, I would say. You get the chance to kind of let loose, get dirty, get muddy, just have a proper laugh, running through streams, sliding down slides. You don't get the opportunity to do that when you're an adult. Everything's dead serious. So yeah, OCR gives you the opportunity to kind of unleash your inner child a little bit, I think, as well. Yeah.
Cool. And Gavin, I was given a bit of blurb about you. I understand that you're some kind of champion in the OCR.
I wouldn't. Well, I'm probably so. Lynsey is like I'd say Lynsey's like an unsung hero of OCR, the community. Lynsey is like probably one of the top volunteers in the UK for the amount of effort she puts in trying to grow the sport and volunteer and marshal and everything, and as well as she obviously takes part, but we all want to see Lynsey on the start line. It's just like she said, she's maybe some injuries and stuff, but yeah, from my perspective, I guess like OCR, if I had to kind of split it, it's probably about 90% people doing it for fun and to complete the course, and then probably 10% is from the competitive point of view and wanting to win, and I veer more towards the 10%. So yeah, when I take part in the races, I tend to enter the competitive wave, if you like. So quite often you go off in like bigger groups, and the first wave is a competitive wave where you're obviously trying to do things as fast as you can and maybe win some silverware, maybe qualify for the European or World Championships. So I've been to, Lynsey has as well, to be fair, but I've been to the World Championships 3 times, the European Championships a couple of times. And I guess my highlight would be winning a bronze medal at the World Championships in 2019 in my age group, and standing on the podium with my son, who was just about, I think he was just 1 at the time, Hamish, Scotland flag round my back, son, it doesn't much better than that, sharing that moment. So yeah, I guess I'm more from the competitive point of view.
Cool. And in terms of the types of race you do, is there different sorts of disciplines? I know that sounds maybe daft, but you mentioned Tough Mudder, which is quite a well-known one, but is there all sorts of different types of obstacle course racing?
Yeah, when people like if I start talking to anybody about obstacle course racing, they kind of look a bit confused, and then we always I think everybody says the same thing. It's like, like Tough Mudder and Spartan races, because those are the two brands that people tend to know. So we just go with that. But I don't know, Lynsey will maybe tell you a bit more about how it's all broken up. Rather than me talking all the time.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, there's different disciplines. I mean, at the heart of it, it's kind of the same, but you'll hear some people talk about kind of old school OCR, and that's what the British are good at, is that kind of old school OCR. So that tends to be, the courses are a lot muddier, there's a lot more water, there's a lot more heavy carries, kind of less rig style technical obstacles that you'd maybe see on the kind of ninja side. So there's that kind of side of it, and that's kind of what your Tough Mudders and stuff are like. And there's a few courses in the UK that are kind of more geared to that. And then when you move over to the European side, they are much more kind of rig technical, like monkey bars, having to go from ropes to rings to all different sorts of attachments on rigs. And it's much more technically minded, kind of much more geared towards those that are good at kind of ninja style obstacle courses. And the two are very, very, very closely linked. In particular, you'll see like the British Obstacle Sports Federation and the Ninja Federation are trying to come together because the sports are so closely linked. So that you get that kind of two styles where you get the old school just getting really muddy, really heavy carries, just real slog to get through the race. And then you have these more fast-paced, really technical obstacles that really test your grip strength and your kind of arm strength and things like that. And Gavin's done really well at both of them kind of from a European champs perspective. And then there's a really good course called Nuclear Races, which is where the World Champs was held. And that's got a real nice mix of both, that kind of real old school OCR and the kind of more technical rigs. It's got a nice flavour. It's a really popular race for people because they get the best of both worlds. And then you kind of move on to like the real ninja style, which is like short 100-meter courses, really fast and furious, and that is just purely technical rigs and stuff like that. So there is different flavours for everyone that has their own style. Some people don't like the rigs, they're too technical, they like to just slog it out on a course. Other people don't like that and they don't like getting too muddy and they like to do the more technical. So there's really something for everybody in the sport, which is what makes it so versatile and so inclusive, because there really is something for everyone, regardless of the race you do. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and sorry to circle back on something there, but you mentioned technical rigs. What do you mean by rigs? Because I mean, I like to think I've just got a terrible rig, but I don't know what you mean by it. So.
Yeah, so it can be anything from like monkey bars, so everyone's kind of knows what monkey bars are. It can be kind of ring swing. So if anyone's watched kind of Ninja Warrior or that type of style, it's kind of
gladiators.
There's a kind of element of that.
Do you remember Hang Tough?
Oh, Hang Tough, yeah.
I do.
So yeah, so that can be an obstacle. Or it can be right down to like really complicated obstacles. So Gavin will set us up really quite technical things at the farm, where it'll be you'll swing from a rope onto like a ball that you have to kind of claw your hands onto, into a tire, onto a bar. It can really be anything, and these are all attachments that you can put onto rigs, so you can really make it as versatile, as complicated and as easy as you want. So yeah, that's some of the good things about the sport in terms of how it's grown, because you never know year on year what you're going into, because the race director might change something completely different and you think you've nailed it, and then typical Scottish weather or typical UK weather kicks in and it's a completely different race because it's raining. You tested it in the dry. So yeah, it can really test your ability and kind of test you as an athlete. Every time you race can be completely different.
Cool. And Gavin, I think you do a bit of coaching. What sort of things do you do to get people ready to have their first go at doing an obstacle course?
Yes. So we've got a facility called the Farm, just outside Kilmarnock. And yeah, we started doing obstacle course training there about, it must be 5-6 years ago now. And we've grown it here to the point we've got about 100 obstacles dotted around the farm fields and whatnot. And we train kids from as young as 3 years old, actually, right up to adults, really. So in a Saturday morning, we can sometimes have 100 people here on a Saturday morning across 3 different groups or 3 different times, and they're all in terms of the coaching side of things. Like, I guess it's whether people want to do something for fun or whether they want to do it in the competitive front. And like I say, the majority of people just want to have a lot of fun climbing over walls, crawling, underneath nets or climbing over cargo nets and whatnot. And they just like the variety of it, and being, like Lynsey said earlier, like being part of a community of people who just want to go out and have fun and take on a challenge, really. And it really is the most fun you'll probably ever have whilst exercising. And anybody can do it. But then if you do go over to the kind of more competitive front, then the actual training that we do would be a mix of running. A big part of obstacle course racing is running, as well as the obstacles. You have to be able to do both, but a big chunk of it is running. And then we do some strength conditioning, just like most other sports, maybe a couple of times a week, lifting the barbells and all that type of stuff. Grip strength training. So that from a fun perspective, people who maybe like to do bouldering or rock climbing or gymnastics, they would quite enjoy doing obstacle course racing as well, because they like, you get to swing on stuff, and it's the kind of more spectacular side of the sport. So yeah, it's a kind of good mixture of running, strength work, and the kind of the grip side of things. And then we just have we have a kind of team program at the farm. So if people want to kind of train more specifically for an event, like Spartan or like Tough Mudder, then they can join our program and we'll train them for those events. And then we go away. It's just like any other sport in terms of like you go to these events as a team, and you travel together. You're in hotels together and stuff like that. And unfortunately, a lot of the races, I say unfortunately, but the majority of the races in the UK are down in England. But through Lynsey and a team of others in the Scottish community, we are trying to kind of really grow things in Scotland, so that we don't have to do as much travelling for one, but so that there's more races for kids as well, because we've got this fantastic group of kids, and some of them actually just went down and did the first ever British OCR Junior Championships, but they had to go down to Milton Keynes for that. So we want more races up in Scotland. So we're actually, sorry to harp on, but we're actually going to be launching a race next year at the Fit Body Farm. So Lynsey is kind of helping out with that. And it's called Tartan Warrior. So we would like to invite you, Richard, to take part in that. Yeah. You can put on your beer kilt, and come along, wear some tartan, come and get muddy with your pals. We'll give you a free ticket, and yeah, you
get to meet a Highland cow.
We've got a Highland cow. We'll have a Highland cow on site as well. Hamish the Highland cow.
That's not an obstacle, is it? The Highland cow.
No. You don't have to climb over the Highland cow or anything, or ride the Highland cow. But yeah, no, it's going to be a 5k kind of course with about 35 obstacles around the fields and stuff. And yeah, you'll get a medal and a t-shirt and maybe a caramel wafer or something, a can of brew. Who knows? So yeah, the majority. Yeah.
Well, I've always said I wanted to do one of these things, so like keep me posted. That sounds good.
I will send you the details. Well, you're not getting out of this.
fair enough. Just speaking about the 35 different obstacles. Now, I know in every sport that I've played or had a go at, there's always one thing that you're kind of like a little bit you dread. So, like when I played rugby, if I had a back running at me, I was always wetting myself because they would sidestep me and I'd look like a moron and just tackle there. So, what is, for you guys, I'll go to you first, Lynsey, what is the obstacle you kind of just gives you that kind of eek factor?
Anything that's up high, so I've got a massive fear of heights. So there's a few obstacles at the farm that I still have to tackle, but the biggest one for me by far is the rope climb. So I get about 3/4 of the way up and then I get stuck because the fear kicks in. And I remember being at a race, I think it was the one in Perth, the Spartan race in Perth, and the rope climb in itself isn't spectacularly high, but in this particular field it looked like you were climbing up to the same level as the top of a house. And I got to the top, it was fine, I got there, but then I had a panic attack at the top, burst out crying and then slid all the way back down the rope and then cried the whole way back to the, the finish line through all the other obstacles. So yeah, the rope climb has a bit of an effect on me. It's something I have to try and get over, but anything that's up high for me, so that there's a cargo net at the farm that is just my nemesis. I can't get over the top of it because it's just high up off the ground. So yeah, when you've got all the kids staring at you and they can flip over it no bother and you're supposed to be coaching them over it, yeah, I need to get over myself and just get it done this year, I think. But yeah, that's definitely, anything high for me is always a problem.
Fair enough. And what about you, Gavin? Is there anything you dread?
Not massively, although I guess balancing obstacles, balance beams and stuff like that are quite common, and I'm generally okay with them. But if anybody wants a laugh, because I don't mind laughing at myself, then I actually was on Ninja Warrior a few years ago. So if you go into YouTube and search for Gavin Hogarth Ninja Warrior, you will see my run, which is horrendous, on Ninja Warrior, dressed as Mr. Motivator, and it's a balancing obstacle. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, if you've seen Ninja Warrior, there's these spinning red balls where you have to just run across them super fast, but they spin underneath your feet. So effectively a balancing obstacle, and that's what did me. I ended up in the water off of the spinning red ball. So yeah, I guess balancing obstacles aren't my first choice, based on my history of Ninja Warrior. So yeah, have a laugh on YouTube if you want.
And obviously, these types of things, obstacle racing is different from athletics in the sense that it's so all round, but it's all in one race. Whereas, you get the decathlon, you get the heptathlon in athletics, and you do different things at different times. Is this the type of sport that you could see one day becoming a kind of Olympic sport because it needs that all round athlete that's got stamina as well as the ability to do different things very, very quickly? I'll go to you first, Lynsey, on that.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a federation that's just started up probably a couple of years now, the British Obstacle Sports Federation, and that is really their goal, is to see the sport become an Olympic sport. We're certainly on the path with the pentathlon event. They're looking at potentially, there's been a few test events where they're looking to replace the horse riding with an obstacle course event at the end of it. It'll be a short, kind of sharp, kind of ninja style course. So it'll be quite exciting for people to watch, and hopefully, provide a really good competitive end to that event. But that is everyone's goal. We want to, when we are coaching the kids and coaching all these youngsters through the sport, we see them as the future of the sport. It's not about us, in our 40s running about a tough mudder. It's about these kids that want to grow and develop, and we can absolutely see a vision where they are in the sport and running in the pentathlon, and eventually people see how fabulous and amazing OCR is, and it does become a sport in its own right in terms of being its own Olympic sport. You know, you look at things like the mountain biking and the BMXing, and some of these events, they're not standardized at the Olympics year on year. The course changes, it's slightly different, so there's absolutely space for OCR to live in that, for sure. It doesn't have to be the same course every time. You can chop and change it. It's really just about making sure that you've got the rules are standardized and everyone knows what's expected of them, but you can still make that course a little bit different. So that's really what British Obstacle Sports is trying to drive. They want to see that happen. And in order to do that, we need to grow as a federation, similarly to every other kind of sports federation that they have. It allows us to get funding, it allows us to grow the sport, grow the community, and eventually become, you know, recognised as a proper sport, essentially, because that's what we want and what everyone else wants, so that works in the community. So yeah, there's definitely a vision for that, for sure.
Cool. And Gavin, slightly different question, because you mentioned you got your bronze medal and stuff. Are the athletes that you've competed with, are they comparable to Olympic athletes already, or is it still something that's grown in the sport?
In terms of the people who are the best in, I guess, in the UK and the world, they're as fit as anybody, as the top athletes in any other sport. I mean, these guys, the number one guy, well, the guy who's won multiple world championships is actually a British guy called John Albon, and he's got a bit of he's got a really strong running background, and when he did a lot of obstacle course racing, and then he went he focuses a little bit more on like mountain running now, and the mountain running series across Europe is really, really strong. And these guys thought, who's this guy coming in from, you know, obstacle course racing, and he beats them all. He'll be one of the best in the world at mountain running, but he also happens to be a multiple world champion at obstacle course racing. So no, the standard is really high across the UK and the world, and it's only getting better. The great thing from a competitive point of view is the British obstacle course sports in UK OCR, they kind of work together. They started a race series this year, so I've travelled around the UK and taken part in different races and accumulating points. So there's like a kind of leaderboard, if you like, and there'll be an overall series champion. So there's actually the last race in the series is actually this weekend. I'm not attending that one, but yeah, it's been a great addition to have like a race series and stuff like that. So yeah, and I think though the more that they do things like that, the more they're going to attract other people from different sports, whether they come from a running background or a triathlon background or whatever it is. Like, they'll see these events that look like a lot of fun, and they'll realise how competitive they are as well. If you want to go down the competitive route, just to emphasise, 90% of people are doing this for fun. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I mean that in terms of a sort of spectator sport, and I hope I don't come across as being condescending here, but I think it's a sport, without me seeing the type of stuff you've maybe done. I've not been to a Tough Mudder event or anything like that would be quite friendly for spectators, because let's be honest, I used to love Total Wipeout. I've watched Ninja Warrior, those sorts of things, and I know they might seem like glorified sort of versions of it that some people might hate with what you do. But do you think it, as a spectator sport, that it's already something that could be quite marketable already because of what's been on the TV?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, most of the events are I mean, it depends when the weather's like, right? Because it's an outdoor sport most of the time. But if the weather's decent, then you tend to get people, because it's based in a field most of the time, or over a piece of farmland. And they're generally, the way the course is set out, or the race director set the course out, you get like a bunch of obstacles that are really fun to watch. Will be kind of bunched together, and you tend to find spectators will kind of merge on that particular obstacle to watch, or a kind of set of obstacles. So it is good fun for people to watch. And certainly when a lot of people go and watch an obstacle course, the kind of the kind of fear factor is gone for them after that. So they think, actually, I could give that a go, or it's not quite as bad. They might go with their family or someone they know might be taking part, and then they realise that it's maybe not as scary as people make out, and maybe I'll come and give it a go next time. And then they come into the sport again as these fun runners, and that's what's going to maintain obstacle course racing. It's not necessarily the competitive element that's going to keep us going. It's that 90% of those people that come in and do it year after year just for a laugh and a giggle with their friends. That's what keeps OCR alive, to allow us to then be competitive at the other side. So yeah, we definitely want those people who spectate on the sidelines to come and give it a go and see if they can do it, and they absolutely will. They'll anybody, like we said before, it's such an inclusive, and we want everyone to give it a go and see what they can do. So yeah, it's definitely spectator to taking part type of sport for sure.
Brilliant, right? And just in terms of, I'll come to you for this, Gavin. In terms of the mentality of it, is it obviously you do competitive, but I think it is a type of sport where you can't take yourself too seriously because you fall off things when you first try them and get a bit muddy, end up in water and stuff. Is that correct?
You have to be prepared to fail. Everybody fails obstacles, and that's what drives you to get better as well. People can get frustrated and not being able to do things at first, but the buzz they get when they can do something even as simple or sounds simple as climbing over a 7-foot high wall, or climbing a rope, or doing monkey bars. Like, people are literally celebrating, doing high fives and stuff like that. So you've got to be prepared to fail, and some of the failures can be quite spectacular. I mean, I don't necessarily mean dangerously so, but you do go to events like Lynsey said there. There's one called Nuclear, down in England, where the World Championships was held. We go there every year almost, and they've got a great water zone, if you like, and they've got a death slide, which you just basically zoom down, and then there's a lip at the bottom, and it pings you up, and there's cameras everywhere, so they take photographs of everybody doing the gun show or whatever it is, and then you splash into the water, and then there's a zip line on the other side to fly down as well. So there's some real fun stuff in there, and you get some great videos, great photos, and you've got to just laugh at them sometimes as well.
Cool. So just a bit more personal here, what has been your best memory in doing obstacle course racing? I'll come to you first, Gavin. We'll finish off with Lynsey.
I've kind of already said it in terms of like the winning the bronze medal at the World Championships, from a competitive point of view, for sure. But then this will sound a bit cheesy. Then if we go over to the kind of coaching side of it, for me, like, I remember going. It was actually the same year, I think, and people like Lynsey, people like Vanda and Elaine, these other people in our team, doing that course, and just seeing these guys complete it. When it's like a world championship course, it was an absolute mud bath. It was so tough going, but just when they're celebrating across the finish line, it's a bit of a buzz seeing other people achieve stuff that when you know them on a personal level, and you know how hard they've worked, or you know how difficult they've found a certain obstacle, and they've overcome that eventually, and like, it's really rewarding to kind of see that. So if it was a personal moment, it would be definitely being a podium with my son in a bronze medal, but seeing the team do well is really rewarding as well.
And what about you, Lynsey? What's been your sort of highlight of obstacle course racing?
Almost exactly the same, but the opposite of what Gavin's just said. So for me, the highlight was 2019, the World Champs course. I have met my best friends, my tribe, through doing obstacle course racing, and I get to coach with them every week. But the highlight for me was running that course with my best friend Elaine. So we ran the whole thing together. We just had an absolute laugh and a giggle. I probably can't describe to make it sound as muddy as it actually was. I mean, we were disgusting. It was horrible. The weather was atrocious. It was monsoon style weather, and we just, there was no chance we were going to complete a lot of the obstacles. They were just too slidey, so we just had a laugh. And it was probably one of the best times of my life, being out in OCR courses that I've ever had. But equally to Gavin's, to his exact point, is to see the team have worked so hard to get there and see them all cross the finish line. But for us as a team to see Gavin achieve his goal, that was what he wanted to do, and he went out and he absolutely smashed it. So to see him standing up there with Hamish with the flag, it was just amazing. So this is exactly the same but the opposite.
Brilliant. And you can tell just by the way that both of you are speaking that it's obviously it's a good sport for people to meet people and get friends and stuff. So hopefully there's a few people that are listening that are maybe interested in joining, or maybe their kids might have some kind of interest in this sort of thing. Where's the best place for them to find out information? Me personally, I just basically searched on Facebook and found Scottish OCR. But is there anywhere better that people should be looking at? Maybe I don't know about.
I guess if they want to kind of understand the sport as a whole in the UK, then look on the British Obstacle Course Sports website. That's British Obstacle Course Sports website. And then if they are, we might as well plug ourselves as well. Like if they're Scottish based, or even if they're not, to be fair, but we're based just about half an hour from Glasgow, just about not far from Kilmarnock. If they fancy coming and giving it a go themselves, then we do training sessions most Saturday mornings, whether they're adults or kids, like I said, from the age of 3 upwards, really. And they can find us if they want to contact us. They can find Fit Body Farm on Facebook or on Instagram, and just contact us through there.
Yeah, and on Scottish OCR as well. So that is basically the community for the Scottish OCR races, and the people in the community. There's about 1,500 people on that page already, and it just grows every day as people find us. So that's run by a group of volunteers from all races or all race teams and all over the country. And the whole goal of that is to make sure that we're promoting the sport in Scotland, and we're promoting the races that are going on and any training that's happening. And so definitely join the Scottish OCR page, and you'll get most of the information you need from there. But if anyone's interested, the British Obstacle Sports Federation would love to have more members and more people get involved with the sport. So check it out on their website as well.
Cool. And just lastly, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? That way you can bully them into listening. It helps me, but it also means that you'll get someone listening to you as well.
They'll listen to it. They'll listen to us anyway, because I'll send them messages.
Good. I like this. But if there is anyone you want to give a shout out to, please.
We'll see, just because of when this has been recorded, we'll give a wee special shout out to Karen McQuarrie, who is one of our team. She's quite competitive like myself, and she's over in Greece right now. And tomorrow, actually, as we're recording this, tomorrow is taking part in this trifecta, the Spartan Trifecta World Championships. So that's an OCR event. It's 3 races over 3 days, and it's an accumulation of your results from those 3 races. So it's basically one of the kind of world championships for Spartan racing, which is effectively OCR. So shout out to Karen. Karen, go and smash it. Bring home the gold.
No pressure.
Well, full disclosure, Karen, you might not hear this before you finished, because there will be a few days.
So you better have one, yeah.
It's the 3rd of November as we record, so it's the best of intentions, and good luck in your race as well. Brilliant. Is there anyone you want to give a specific shout out to, Lynsey?
No, just all of the coaching team better listen. No, not really. Just anyone that's in the Scottish community, or anyone that's not in the Scottish community yet. I would recommend you listen. I'd recommend you get involved. Like I say, it's the best fun you can have as an adult from an exercise point of view, and you won't regret it. And we do birthday parties too. So if any of your kids want a birthday party, an OCR birthday party, if you're sick of going to soft play every week, then get in touch with us. We do birthday parties and they're brilliant. So yeah.
Chuck your kids out in the mud.
Yeah.
Get them back to nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's enough Sony PlayStation stuff going on as it is without.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, brilliant. Thanks so much for your time tonight. I appreciate that you're just back from. Gavin's just back from training tonight, and it was munching his tea just as we came on. So I don't know if you finished that or not, Gavin, but thanks so much.
I've just got the dregs. So thank you very, very much for having us on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And thank you to Vanda as well for setting this up.
She'll be on next time for sure.
Listen, I know that you wanted to shy away from the game this time, but maybe we'll get you on next time. So thank you so much.
Cheers. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Big thank you to Gavin and Lynsey for coming on, and a big thank you to Vanda for setting that up. Go check out Scottish OCR. Is the group and community, and look up their web pages. As they said, sounds like a fun activity, a way to keep fit whilst also just having fun at the same time. And it sounds like no one takes themselves too seriously, so you can't really go wrong with that. Next on the podcast, I'll be having a little chat with some people I follow on Twitter, just a little bit of a review about the Scottish Rugby Autumn, and just looking at how things have went on and off the pitch. I'm not hoping to step on the toes of the good people of Scottish Rugby Podcast or the Thistle. It's just I wanted to get a couple of people on, like-minded people, and just basically have a rant and chat about Tooney and some of the mad things he says. Thank you for joining me. In addition to that, I am also looking to speak to someone about korfball, so hopefully we'll get that on. I have no idea if that's going to work. And just keep it here. Thanks so much. Cheers.